Thanks for staying with us. Now, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. That's a quote by Albert Einstein. Now, Nigeria will only move forward as a nation forged in unity by optimizing every single public resource and making the health, safety, and the prosperity of its people an urgent concern. There are no shortcuts. Fixing Nigeria requires a consistent long-term approach, not those constantly watching four-year elections, like a dieter watching the scale every half an hour. Now, since it's clear we do not have a plan B, how do we start the process, and what is our responsibility as citizens towards this process of making Nigeria better or fixing our country? Now, please let us share what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at PlusTvAfrica1 with the hashtag WeShow, or you send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Okay, so before we start to open our phone lines, I would like to hear, everyone. Lami, if you can hear me, let me start with Lami. Lami, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, so if you can hear me. So, of course, on Tuesday, we had the conversation about Pastor Paul Adefarasin saying that we should all, have a plan B, and, whether it's a road to Cameroon or a passport to this, platform. He said so many things about having a plan B. And, of course, when we were having that conversation on Tuesday, a lot of callers called into the show and said, see, we are over 200 million people. So even if you are escaping, what happens to the rest of Nigerians? What we should do as Nigerians is to sit down and find creative ways to fix our country. So we thought today, why don't we just, have this conversation about fixing the country and, let us see how we as citizens, so let's remove government, because most times when we talk about these things, we try to also involve the government. No. How do we fix Nigeria? So let me start with you from the citizen's point of view, or from the standpoint of a citizen.
Wow. How do we fix Nigeria? I don't believe that we can get anywhere without, because government policies and all that change a lot of dynamics. So I'm not sure that we can achieve anything without the government. So I would say that the first thing from my own standpoint is we all should be politically active, and our level of participation should increase. When we are able to change the narrative, I think a lot of things will start working. If we're able to vote in competent people, then I think it's right. Nigeria's problem is from top to bottom. I don't think it's bottom to top.
Absolutely. You think so? Lami, do you think so?
That's what I think. Yes, I think our problem is.
Okay, you know what? Let me call up a video that Uti found today and shared in the group. When we play that video, I want Uti to come in. It's just like a few seconds. Maybe people should watch this video.
It's there now. It's there. You got that as well. Can't be fast.
No. I was caught now. Oh, wow.
They're not ready to come back for this thing.
And even the police there yet, they will not say police there yet.
Because they don't even lose all these fast things.
I've already lose all this one.
They don't lose all these ones to carry on. This one now don't come out.
Don't come out already.
Because there's nothing holding this one now. This one now don't ready to go.
The best thing is it not possible to rewear them?
Because we will not get the welding.
All right, so Lami, the reason I pulled up that video, because you said the conversation should be from top bottom. This does not look like top bottom problem. Let me come to Uti. Maybe you should explain that video to us.
You have seen the video.
So this video allegedly is a part of the new rail line that is being constructed in certain parts of Lagos State. And it shows this line being cut And if you can see the cut that was shown, it's actually equipment that has been used to cut that rail track with the mind to come back and lift those tracks. Of course, this metal can be sold as scrap. You see some of the ingots there have already been loosened and taken away. So when we talk about it being top-down, it's not entirely the reality. Now, I know some people will say, oh, it's because the way the economy is, it's because, oh, these people don't have any other alternatives. Yes, we can continue to say that, but it's an easy out, right? It is easy for us to say that the government hasn't played its part, but we must all realize that we all form the collective that is the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We all have a role to play. The two wrongs don't make a right.
Absolutely.
So if I am finding a way, or if I am doing things in a certain way because I say it's predicated on the way somebody else is doing something, it's still a crime. It's still wrong. So when we see these infrastructure projects, which we call for all the time, being vandalized, I mean, every time I drive past, I mean, fair enough, this project has been going on. In fact, my concern, when I drive past this part of Lagos and I see this project, I say, look, when you started something 10 years ago, by the time you get to the end, you're going to go back and need to do maintenance at the beginning where you started, because everything would have been, I mean, some parts of those roads have potholes. There's all sorts that has happened in those areas. So the reality of it is everybody has a part to play. What I find is that it has become easy to target the leadership. It has become easy to target the politicians. It is, as Issy was referring to the Bible earlier, it is the log in your eye versus the speck in somebody else's eye. We forget that you at the traffic light, who is jumping the traffic light, you who is throwing rubbish away in front of you. I mean, all these things are things that we choose to do. Yes, we might come back and say we don't have alternatives. Fair enough. But again, two wrongs don't make a right. And if we're all in this together, as we truly should be if we want change, because you see, when we talk about elections, when we talk about people being politically active, I agree, because what has gotten Nigeria to this place, in my opinion, one of the things that we have found is we keep being given the choices between the frying pan, the fire, the devil, and the deep blue sea.
Exactly.
So even if I have my PVC, if the choices I'm given are not the true choices that I know will bring about the kind of change that I want, but I have to make a choice, then it becomes the lesser of two evils. So we find ourselves perpetuating the same cycle 4 years, 8 years, and we find that we're getting worse. I was having a conversation with someone today around how, one of the things that scares me the most, one of the things that baffles me the most, well, it doesn't baffle me, I sort of can see how we got here, is how we have become so hateful of each other.
Are you telling me?
At one point, we all were collected in our annoyance with our leaders, with our annoyance, but now it is tribe on tribe. And I was just saying to someone that, look, I remember 30 odd plus years ago, as children, that white ceramic or porcelain dish with the clay, when it was Salah, you would be carrying, ram would be coming, food would be coming. When it's Christmas, you are the delivery child, you are going with your basket to Mrs. Somebody's house to drop food. We were tolerant of each other. We loved each other. It was a nation where we were all together. It didn't matter whether you were Christian, Muslim, whether you were calling Ifa Shongo. It didn't matter. We were all Nigerians. But somehow, this inequity has turned us against each other. And you know, when I go on social media and I see people talking about war, talking about fighting, look, I'm sorry, it scares the hell out of me, excuse my French. Because it is one thing to call for war when you have never seen it, when you have never lived it. Sometimes when I hear people talking about it on social media, I feel like you think that it's going to be like a lockdown and you will sit in your house and you'll be safe. It is the worst level of degradation that any nation can want to come to. I don't have a problem if we all know that the inequity that we see today, we're not comfortable with it. Can we please have the learned, the lawyers, the politicians, the people who truly understand these things? Is it a referendum? I mean, the UK left the EU, not one life was lost. I mean, you know, so I'm not even, look, everybody's entitled to their own rights. If you want secession, whatever it is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I've said it so many times, our strength should be in our diversity. How that thing is no longer a truth today in Nigeria, it baffles me and it is scary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to come to you, EC, because, you know, I liked what Uti said, you know, about becoming hateful of each other. I mean, I posted a video of the show on Tuesday on my Instagram page. And, I mean, there has been some back and forth, some people deliberately attacking me, saying, of course, you know, I was on a show in 2015 when then President Jonathan was when we were advocating and we were tired of President Jonathan, you know, and we wanted something different.
A change.
And of course, we wanted a change, and they kept going. So the person says, I want to, let me, in case she has forgotten, let me remind her she was, I mean, they were just going back. At some point, I was tired of replying them. I just say, you know what, go ahead and continue to talk about it. People, we are so attacking of each other when you see someone. See, President Jonathan was not particularly a good president. He was not competent. So when I was criticizing, based on his job. But you see, people will come at you and say, "Hey, are you not the one that said this thing?" Why is you say, "Hey, you will eat this thing now? Now we are all eating the bread together." It doesn't. That is not how governance works, and that is not how we would progress, right? When we start to blame and throw blames and counter blame and all of that, because it's the same thing. Now, remember when you posted this video on the group, what AK said about us now getting to that point where it will now become, they will create so much anarchy, and it will not get to the point where it will now pick, you understand, between the devil and the deep blue sea, like we did in 2015. So what would be a creative way now? Approaching this current rancor, this current insecurity, this current, you know, what should be the proper mindset everybody should have that will be sensitive to say that we're not going to fall into that trap of picking between the pot or the kettle. No, because the two of them, they are not good. We're going to look for a third option that is better for us as a country. How do we get there?
See? Education plays a huge role. But you know, we all know the state of our education system currently in Nigeria. So self-education, self-enlightenment is what would take us to the promised land. And we have to look within. It's not about throwing the blame game or, you know, saying the government hasn't stood for us, they haven't respected us, they've not done what they're supposed to do. We all know the problem with the government. The government, they are the same people that will still bring us to debunk or to scatter whatever we are even trying to work on. It's not a politician that is in the Senate that will come and say, okay, NSAS protesters, let all the people that were doing the NSAS, they should get out of the way. It wasn't the end. Not even one person from the Senate came in. It was one of us. It was the masses. We were the ones that actually stepped out to disrupt whatever happened in NSAS. So we have to look within. We have to look into our community. We have to look into our local government. How do we elect these people? How do we bring in these people? And we should stop, for God's sake, playing the hate card. Because the hate card will not take us anywhere. For once, when we did the NSAS, we stood together with one voice. If we can actually come together with that same voice, again, towards a common goal, which is good governance, security, not religious fanaticism, no more. We say no to religious fanaticism, and tolerate each other. If you're driving on the road of Lagos, people are angry. You're driving just to say, oh, Oga, make I pass. The next thing you hear is your father. You know, everybody is angry. You just need to, you know, everybody needs to take so that breather, you know, to take a step back and actually say, okay, this is a human being I'm actually talking to. Let's actually, you know,
and treat each other
as one. And we have to call a spade a spade. Yes, the government hasn't stepped up, but we as a people, look at the video you guys just said, we just shared. Look at the video. We haven't stepped up as a people.
Come in, Lami.
We haven't stepped up as a people.
It's not government that did that one.
But you know the thing about it, before Lami even comes in, the thing there is this. There are channels and there are means.
Yes.
If you are going to vote, you are given a choice to vote. Until all of us, that political activeness that Lami just talked about, we need to start from there. Because you are going to keep getting the same set of people to pick from.
So you must go to the decision makers where they create the
because
candidates.
this is democracy. You mustn't. You are presented with candidates to vote for. If you cannot pick somebody, if you cannot see somebody on there that you really want to pick, then you are having to make do
With
How
whatever
do you
they
get the right
present.
people
Do you know?
into
You know what, let me bring
Do
Lami.
you know why I'm coming in from this angle? I'm coming in from this angle because based on somebody I know that actually did the contested in the last election, and in his own local government area, what did they do? They rigged it and came out with just 2 votes when he knew that this is his own local government area that is supposed to have more people. So what are we talking about? It's about the people. It's about
Let me
the
come
people.
to Lami. Lami, come in,
The
please.
mindset has to change.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I'm going to rest what you said about the video. I quite agree that the government has tried in some ways, to provide infrastructure, and people still, continue to destroy it. But the truth is, that is what you would get from. You can't sow corn and expect to reap beans. It is what you sow that you reap. That is the outcome of a country that's education and weaponized poverty.
Exactly.
Do you expect somebody who has never been to school, who lived under the bridge all his life, to understand the infrastructure the government is doing? Him to have any loyalty or any allegiance to the government or to the country. If you go to England, right, you see children of 14, 15. When they are pregnant, the government takes over their responsibility. They give them a house, they take care of the children. And I've heard countless people complain about it, that the government of the United Kingdom or all those Western governments are encouraging teenage pregnancies and all that. And I said, no. What they are trying to do is they are trying to save themselves the headache of the future. Because a child, giving birth to a child is already a recipe for disaster. Now you leave that child alone with a 14, 15-year-old girl. What do you think will happen to the child that is coming? Of course, the child going to school is already limited. The chances are limited. And the chance that that child is going to continue the sequence of poverty is very, very high. That is why they take over those children that, okay, this is it. It's happened, teenage pregnancy and all that. But we're going to watch. But we come back to Nigeria. You see children having children, and the government is not doing anything about it. How do you think those children are going to grow up and have any loyalty or allegiance for that government? You see all this Western world providing free education. They know what they're doing. They're trying to save the headache of the future. So if a boy that has grown up on the streets, you're doing a blue line, blue rail and all that, he doesn't understand it. He doesn't have the capacity, he doesn't have the competence to understand it. So the government have to change their ways. And another thing is elitism. The elites are the problem of this country. Number one, they don't take part in the political election or selection or whichever way we're going to put it. They don't take part in it. We all go in the days of election, we're in front of the TV, we're watching TV, we're counting scores on channels. Now, when we see children on the streets, they don't go to school. We don't actively take the government on. But they are going to become the problem, bearing its head. Who are you driving on and you see all these children attempting to help you do your wiper and all that, your windscreen and all that, and we chase them away. But the truth is, in another 20, 30 years, how angry do you think these children are going to be? Because they watched all these things. The problem in Nigeria is elitism. We don't bother. Once you are okay, your child can afford to go to a private school. Look at when the government talked about in January, children going back to school. The government said at the last lockdown, 24,000 children did not go back to school. And there were a lot of children that became pregnant. And on that note, they cannot afford another one. They would like but people who could afford to or who could afford internet services were kicking against it. So once we can afford to go to get the best health care, once we can afford to live in an estate, our children are going to school, we can travel for the best health care, we can travel for vacation. We don't care about what happens to the other people.
Okay.
So we are all going to keep suffering for it until we change the government, and the government It has to be people oriented.
Okay, so
If we are not,
Uti
if
is
it's not
busy.
people oriented, there's not going
Wait,
to be a
Lami,
legend.
calm down. Uti wants to attack you, but you know what? Let us just go
Please,
for a very short break.
please.
When we come back from the break, we'll open the phone line, then Uti will respond to Lami. Stay with us, we'll be right
I
back.
also have a response for her too.